Hey folks, Jimmy here, aka Palette of the Dead. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to the latest issue of Warhammer Age of Sigmar Spearhead magazine. Now, as per usual with all these videos, if you like them, hit that like button. Why not go and hit that subscribe button while you're down there as well? And last, but by no means least, why not drop a comment? One, goes a massive way to helping out the channel and appeasing those unruly algorithm gods. And two, I really do love hearing back from you guys. Whether you're just stopping by to say hello, whether you want to comment and say what your favourite mortal faction from within the mortal realms is, your favourite mini, your favourite character, your favourite story, colour scheme, the lot. It's all super cool. I really do love hearing back from you guys. Love interacting with you as and when I can. And yeah, it all goes a massive way, as I say. Now, this week we're on issue number 24 of good old Spearhead magazine. It is a paint issue, so we have two pots of paint as per usual. We have Ink by Darkness, fairly good as a base layer for things like kind of like your teal kind of colours and your turquoises. So that with good old Thousand Suns blue, Temple Guard blue and that type of stuff works an absolute treat, so it can be very good for that. You can use it as a bit of an edge highlight over black and it works quite well as well, so it's got a bit good multiple uses, so it's not too bad. In all honesty, this is the type of colour that I personally think is really good for things like your Croxigores. So if you're not painted your Croxigores, paint that over them as your base layer instead of using like your Cantor blue or anything like that, and I think it works far better in my opinion, so it's a pretty good one. The other paint we get is Screamer Pink. Screamer Pink, also a very good paint, I'm not gonna lie. So, Scream Pink, if you're using it as a base layer, you may want to use Pink Horror and Emperor's Children as your edge highlights for it. Using it, though, otherwise, personally, I always use it as more of as an edge highlight myself. So, for instance, an edge highlight over things like Baraknar Burgundy works an absolute treat. So, it's very good for things like the red leather wraps around the handles of weapons. So, for instance, for like the Stormcast Eternals, you can use it inside the mouths of monsters and stuff like that as well. It can work very good. So it's pretty decent for that type of stuff. So, not a bad paint. Going into this week's issue, we are actually going to be first greeted by the Chaos Gods. The Chaos Pantheon. The Chaos Gods are feared throughout the mortal realms, though they are little understood. What is known with absolute certainty, however, are the lengths their followers will go to in order to win their patrons' favour. The gods of chaos are strange and unknowable. Their very natures are veiled from mortals, and even if they were revealed, it is doubtful that any would truly be able to comprehend them. And each fledgling warband that pledges themselves to the dark gods may know them by different names and guises. Perhaps it is better to say that they arise from that which they are associated with. So obviously, as you should already know by now, there are four chaos gods, or four main chaos gods, should I say, and they all have different uniquenesses to them. So, for instance, there is Slaanesh. Slaanesh is the chaos god of obsession and excess. Since the dawn of the Age of Myth, he has been imprisoned, but the mortal realms are not safe from his whispers. He continues to influence mortals, and many followers have gathered to his cause. All mortals have desires, whether savoury or otherwise, and Slaanesh possesses the craft to increase their yearning and encourage the abandonment of all restraint. It matters not to Slaanesh whether pleasure or pain is felt, only that it is overwhelming, and his followers revel in the decadence and abandonment of his will. Then we have Nurgle. Nurgle is the chaos god of plagues and pestilence. Known as Grandfather Nurgle, he is a jovial figure whose followers give thanks for the gifts of life that he has bestowed upon them. The flesh of his followers is covered in sores and boils, breeding grounds for bacteria, feasts for maggots, and playgrounds for flies and insects. Entrails spill from their leaking bodies, nourishing vermin and carrion as they walk forth among the realms, sharing their gifts with all those they can find. In return for their servitude, Nurgle grants his followers freedom from pain, asking only that they continue to spread their dubious boons. Then we have Khorne. Khorne is the chaos god of violence and bloodshed. He is known as the Blood God, and his followers are driven to acts of obscene brutality and cruelty. His followers are not spared from his desire for blood and death, for Khorne, not Cain, Cain is a different god, for Khorne does not care for who it is that dies. When I can learn to speak, Jesus Christ, it's a bad day, isn't it? Whenever his followers march into battle, the blood god is bound to be sated, if only for a moment, regardless of whether it is his loyal followers or their enemies whose heads are cleaved from their bodies. Many warbands and cults have been drawn to his service, but no matter their initial desires, all of them soon fall to bloodlust, cannibalism, and all-consuming mania. And then lastly we have Tzeentch. Tzeentch is the chaos god of change, flux, and anarchy. So fluid are his plans that even he does not understand his designs, but nobody can doubt his power, even if they do not know where or why it will flow. Many of those who follow him are seekers of arcane influence and deep mysteries, although few of his followers ultimately achieve what they desire. He is given to rewarding those who overthrow the status quo and meddle with the nature of the order of things. However, he is fickle. Even his most ardent and faithful servants may be discarded or overlooked. So, as you can tell, four different, very different chaos gods. Obviously, Khorne, all about violence, smashy, nicey time. Tzeentch, all about the magical abilities, with a little bit of hand-to-hand, and very iridescent colours and everything like that, and being a little bit bonkers, to say the least. Nurgle, obviously, all about spreading disease and pestilence, and kind of bringing others into the fold by also infecting them and stuff like that. And then lastly, Slaanesh is obviously all about excess and desires. So, for instance, all your very pleasure houses and stuff like that is very Slaaneshi. So, pretty cool. However, we also have Chaos Undivided. Not all followers of Chaos serve a particular patron deity. Some of them serve all four equally, drawing from whichever aspect of Chaos they need at any one time. Among the most influential warriors of Chaos Undivided are Archaon Everchosen and his arch-rival Be'lakor, the Dark Master. These two beings have been the terror of the mortal realms for ages, and they have proved pivotal in the coming of chaos to the lands, and in establishing the ongoing influence of the Dark Pantheon in the affairs of mortal men and women. So, Be'lakor is the first Chaos Demon Prince to have been anointed, and he does serve all four at once, and he's very kind of down that way and everything like that, and he meddles in a few stories and everything like that. He appears in a few stories from Warhammer the Old World, like the fiction, for good old fantasy battles, and he also appears in a few stories for good old Warhammer Age of Sigmar as well. Archaon the Everchosen was once a mortal man. In the Old World, he was the offspring of a Kurgan invader from the north and Norska into the Empire, was raised in a monastery, was a man devoted to the teachings of Sigmar, and then over years and kind of the meddling of Be'lakor changed and became obsessed with learning who was named in a book that was naming, basically prophesizing who would the name of the person who would become the destroyer of the worlds, and also because of his obsession, he found out that it was him, and so just so happened to then become that person. So it is what it is. But yeah, and then travelled through the Chaos Wastes, and his obsessions got the better of him, and he eventually became Archaon, the Ever-Chosen, and the destroyer of the world that was. So, pretty cool stuff. Pretty interesting, really good stuff. Some really, really good stories as well. So, then moving on, talking about stories, we actually pretty much get a story here in the Tempest Straits. In the maelstrom of the Tempest Straits, the fighting has become so desperate that even the warriors of the Ruination Chambers are deployed there. These are some of the most potent and experienced soldiers in Sigmar's armies, but they are marred by too many reforgings and have lost most of their humanity. So, you get a little information about here and a kind of bit of story about how they kind of fight the Skaven around the Tempest Straits. And yeah, it's pretty decent, pretty cool stuff. Personally, I must admit, I do like some of the Stormcast stories. For instance, the Skaven Tide book. Bob on. It's a really, really good novel if you can get your hands on it. If not, Audible, get it on audiobook. It's really good fun. But yeah, that was a really good one. Same with the Soul Wars book and Dominion books. Always really, really good fun. So, pretty cool stuff. Moving on from there, we get our paint updates. So, utilising Screamer Pink inside the mouth, yeah, not a problem. I agree with that. Using Agrak Surfshade, not so much. Personally, I prefer the pit using the Screamer Pink. If you want to darken it down, go a bit of Norn Oil and then bring it back with a little bit of an edge highlight. Screamer Pink works better in my opinion. Or, if you're painting over black, literally a little bit of Screamer Pink. You don't have to go all the way along the tongue of a creature. You can go part of the way, so it still has a bit of shadowing in there, and yeah, it'll work pretty good. Then you ink by darkness over the cloak and stuff like that. Also works well. So that's pretty decent. It does work well. Ink by darkness with Calgar blue. Yeah, it can work. I'm not gonna lie, can work. It's not my preferred way of doing it, but you can do a really good job, so it's not too bad. When you're following it, you can have something that kind of looks like that already, which isn't bad. It's pretty decent. Painting over later on, though, you may want to go different routes. So, for instance, your colour schemes for certain Chaos Gods. So, for instance, Khorne, Mephiston Red, Agrak Surfshade, Mephiston Red over the top of it works very, very well. If you wanted to go one step further, Khorne Red, Mephiston Red, Wild Rider Red works very, very well, all combined. And you don't really need to do the Agrak Surfshade in between. You just layer it up that way instead. So just obviously shrinking the layer as you go. So for instance, if you do that way, your Khorne Red, then paint over your Mephiston Red over the top of it, but obviously don't go into the recesses. Edge highlights with Wild Rider Red, or even Screamer Pink. Works very, very well. For Nurgle, Ink by Darkness as a kind of as a base coat. Yeah, I'm undecided. I've never tried it before personally. I would say Auric Flesh is a better choice, and then maybe a little bit of a dry brushing of, say, something like Ogrin Camo over the top of it, or even if you go Death Guard Green and then Ogrin Camo over it, maybe that'll probably be better. Yeah, maybe not the Ink by Darkness, but yeah, it is what it is. Tzeentch, personally, I'd go lighter colours than that. So I wouldn't go over Calgar Blue, Drakenhearth Knight, and Cantor Blue. I probably would go lighter. So I'd probably go more kind of like your teal kind of colours. So I probably would actually go Inky by Darkness, then Thousand Suns Blue, because they are a Tzeentch faction within 40k anyway. And then probably your Temple Guard Blue and stuff like that. Slaanesh, Screamer Pink works very, very well as a base coat for them. And then I'd probably go lighter pink from there. So probably go Emperor's Children over the top of it, because then that will fit more better and everything like that. But your choice, your minis. But you can have a bit of fun with it. Yeah, it kind of works. Or you can go black for Chaos Undivided, or you can go silver if you really, really wanted to. Entirely up to you. Personally, I do like black armoured Chaos Warriors. I think it looks slightly better. But I can understand why people don't. So, your choice there. Anywho, rabbiting on a lot there. Moving on, we get more of our rules. So we're all about combat ranges, everything like that. So we've already kind of learned some of these basics over the course of the kind of the entry-level battles and everything like that. This is obviously giving us more of the actual rule book version of them bits. So teaching us how to play, and obviously 3 inches from each individual mini kind of will determine, well, your range. So your range is from there. So, you know, have a bit of fun with it. Setting up the battle, deployment phases and everything like that. Obviously, we've already learned parts of this already, but just to kind of go through it more in depth with you works far, far better than just utilising all the basic rules. And then obviously your battle itself. So obviously each battle has its own sequence. So obviously you have your starter turn, hero phase, movement phase, shooting phase, charge phase, combat phase, and then obviously your end of turn, and then your opponent gets to go through the same. So good fun there. And obviously you will have certain rules that you can use within everything. So certain abilities, certain core abilities, certain unit specific abilities, or faction specific abilities, and all that. And that is pretty much it. So fairly decent, not a bad issue. Next week is obviously going to be some good old Chaos Warriors. It's going to be good fun. I do like Chaos Warriors. They're not too bad. These ones are pretty good looking minis. So they're definitely better than some. So should be really good fun. Enjoyable. And yeah, we should get to have a good one. So it should be good fun. Although this is wrong here, isn't it? Thinking about it. Because this says part 2 of 2 down here. So it's part 1 of 2. We've made a print error there. Anyway, enough rambling on. Thank you very, very much for watching. If you haven't already, why not check out the video I put out on Sunday, which gives you a rundown of what we're getting after this Spearhead. And good old Slaves of Darkness. We'll be going on to Spearheads 5 and 6. A video will be coming up in the very near future, giving us details over Spearheads 7 and 8. And then obviously we'll go 9 and 10 and 11 and 12. So it'll be good fun. So why not? Keep an eye out for them. Anyway, thank you very, very much for watching. And I've rabbited on far too much to you. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye now.